Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and it is a gloomy Cleveland day, gloomy Cleveland week this week, but we have a ton of Browns news to talk about. We got Deshaun Watson news, stadium news, the Panini rookie premiere, tush push news, Jimmy Haslam giving his 2 cents there. So much stuff to talk about. Zay, how are you doing?
Whenever the weather's like this, I'm always kind of just like... I just want to just sleep all day and do nothing. Mix that with the fact that there's nothing going on in the Browns world, really. So it's it's not a good mix. But other than that, we did a 5K this past weekend.
Yep, congratulations
which
again.
Was incredible. Time, we're not going to talk about that. But the fact that I got out there and did it, it was pretty cool to do that. So, all's well. How about you?
Good. My dad always says about races, he's a big runner. He always says, as long as you're not in last, you win the race.
Well, I wasn't in last, but there was this little boy. He couldn't have been more than 6, 7 at the oldest. And his dad had on a backpack that said, "Cheer for my son Tommy." And then the backpack on his was, "I'm Tommy." And I just see him going in front of me, and I'm like, "Go Tommy," because I'm tired. And then I don't know when he finished, but he finished way before me. So shout out to Tommy.
Shout out to Tommy if you're watching Tommy, or if Tommy's dad is watching. Shout out to you. We appreciate you. But yeah, you wouldn't think in middle to late May, gloomy Cleveland weather, there'd be so much Brown stuff to talk about, but we have so much news that broke or intensified over the past week, and I want to start with the Deshaun Watson stuff because he took to Instagram, posting pictures of him throwing, I believe, to Jerry Jeudy and Jamari Thrash, if I'm not mistaken. If the pictures didn't show that, he was doing that in multiple reports, but he took to Instagram, no boot, throwing, and it seems like there's an outside chance that he could be at least physically ready for 2023. Does he play?
25.
What is that? 2025. Wow, I'm going back to 2023.
We're not going back.
We're not going back to
2023 was a good year, so
yes. There's a chance you could be ready for 2025, yes. What would that do to the quarterback room if he's ready by midseason, though?
Not only what would it do to the quarterback room, what would it do to the fan base, to the locker room, to the entire organization? Mary Kay left this, every time she talked about this when the injury happened, she always kind of left the door open. Like, the Browns are leaving the door open for Deshaun, but I just don't see how there's room for him this year. Like, if you want to try to swing it next year, I guess we'd have to get on board with it, but trying to fit him into this locker room this year with all of the personalities, with the guy who ultimately took over and went to the playoffs, with the new, which is Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, then the guy that they went out to get in Kenny Pickett, it just doesn't feel like there's a world where he fits in because, let's just say, like you said, he could be ready for 2025. It's obviously not going to be for the first 4 weeks. You're probably looking more towards bye week, week 10, week 12, week 13. Are you going to give Deshaun one more chance where it's a half a season, or are you going to go to the rookies and see what they give you? You maybe you can tell me, how do you fit him in?
I don't know. The only thing, I know 2 things. Number one, I don't know if it affects the Browns' quarterback plans going into week 1 because you won't be ready for week 1, right? And you got 4 quarterbacks on the roster. You may ship off Kenny Pickett. You may ship off Joe Flacco. They're not trading a rookie, but you're probably going to have to maneuver around all 4 of those guys, and a veteran is probably going to be somebody who goes if somebody does go. I know we all talked about the Saints before we even started the show. Jake Haener now injured. Obviously, Derek Carr retired. Like, they need some help. They need some veteran quarterback presence. They're going to have to move off of one of those guys regardless if Deshaun Watson is ready or not. That's the reality of it. The second thing I know is the Browns are going to have to maneuver the PUP IR when you place him on IR kind of situation really swiftly. Like, they are going to have to look at Deshaun Watson preseason because if you put him on the PUP list before a certain date, he just can't play. You don't have to worry about that. You can essentially shut him down for a season if you put him on the PUP list. I can't remember the date, but moderately soon. If you don't, you lead him going into next year. Obviously, you can put him on the practice squad. You can put him on IR, but multiple IR designations. So let's say they put him on IR before week 1. He's out weeks 1 through 4. You put him on IR again, he's done for the year. So they have to think about that. Are they ready to say, okay, Deshaun, if you're ready to play by week 8, we can fit you on the roster. What if there's a setback, and there already was a setback? Then you're kind of screwed. You're using an IR spot on Deshaun Watson. You avoided the saving a little bit of money by putting him on the PUP list. You avoided all that stuff because you thought he'd be ready by week 8. All of a sudden, has a setback, whatever it may be, God forbid there is any setback with any injury in the Cleveland Browns recovery program, you are now pigeonholing yourself into an even more difficult situation where you could force your hand where if Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett's off the roster, let's say like week 6 or week 7, if Kenny Pickett is off the roster, Joe Flacco starting, and either Flacco goes down or he's not playing well, you have to put a rookie in. You have to put a rookie in at that point. So I don't think it changes the way they're going to approach the start of the season with the quarterback room, but mid-season it makes things really interesting.
Is there a world where they could potentially trade Deshaun Watson? Would Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry and them be okay taking the hit? Obviously, they're already taking the hit. But if someone was like, hey, we'll give you a 6th, are you taking it?
Hell yeah. What? Absolutely. Like, I don't think there's a world where somebody would offer a 6th-round pick for Deshaun Watson right now.
Fair.
I think saying trading Deshaun Watson or, like, finding a suitor for Deshaun Watson is saying, like, Sidney Sweeney or somebody like that is going to, marry one of my friends. Like, who? That's not happening, guys. It's so much cooler in the hypothetical world. It's not happening. I genuinely don't know who would be willing to take a swing or take a risk on Deshaun Watson with all the stuff that went down, with the play that's been on the field the past few years. It's really, really hard to believe that. And it's not like there were not glimpses of hope, glimpses of good moments, because there were. And I think anybody who watches the film can honestly say that there were good moments over the past few years. They were few and far between, but there were good moments. Face value that without the injury, you have a lot of hesitation trading for Deshaun Watson. Now he's coming off of a torn Achilles. I don't think any team wants a part of this. I really don't.
I just think one thing that, we talk about all of these personalities and all these quarterbacks in the locker room. Shedeur Sanders was in the premiere week this past weekend, and he talked about how Deshaun Watson was actually in the meeting.
He's in the meetings.
He's in the meeting. So it's like he's heavily involved in all of the day-to-day operations and all of this stuff. And I'm just, he's throwing to Jerry Jeudy. He's throwing to these players, and it's just like, I asked it last week. How do you manage? I asked Shelby, how do you manage this? Like, what quarterback do you lean to? Which quarterback are you just like, am I sitting at this lunch table with Deshaun? Or am I sitting at this lunch table with Kenny Pickett and Flacco? Like, I just don't understand the world and how it's good for the offense as a whole when you have the looming conversation with Deshaun Watson and knowing the play that was when he was in. I just think back to that Jacksonville Jaguar game when he ran in for a touchdown, and I'm just watching the linemen just kind of look at him there on the ground and just walk away. It's just like, do these players want to continue to play with Deshaun Watson, or do they want to go with Flacco? It's kind of a weird situation to be in, and I'm super interested to see how it unfolds.
I am too. I am absolutely fascinated. We'll talk more to Deshaun Watson and Never Sunny in Berea, but a couple things we do want to talk about. The tush-push ban did not go through. Cleveland Browns, one of 10 teams to basically say the ban was not good, to keep the tush-push. I think we're in agreement here. Tush-push should have stayed. What really did it for me, and it's very, very clear to see that this was not a player safety thing, especially when you look at the data from last year. Statistically, technically, a less risky play in terms of injury than any other NFL snap because there were no injuries on it last year. The NFL's chief medical officer wasn't even at the meetings, guys. Like, this, it was clear what this was. Almost passed, didn't pass, needed 2 more votes, but Jimmy Haslam, the Browns, said, let's keep it. You were happy about that as well.
Yeah, like, I just think it's such a sorry excuse. It's just like, oh, you can't stop it? Well, let's ban it. Like, what kind of, what are we talking about here? And when I made the video, I didn't know the teams that were on there, and I'm like, oh, thank God the Browns were on there, because I'm trashing the other guys who are voting to bet against it. I think part of the reason why the Browns didn't vote to ban it, you think back to that 2023 or that 2022 season when Jacoby Brissett was behind center, and I believe we were like 14 of 15 from 4th and 1, and we weren't really pushing, like tush pushing, but we were under the center running the same kind of thing that they were running. So, kudos to all the 10 teams that decided to have some stones and keep it in.
Absolutely, absolutely. One more thing I do want to talk about, broke right before we got on the air. The Browns inquired about Chris Olave. Seems like the Saints shut it down. I think it would have taken a lot on the Browns' end. Honestly, probably stuff they don't have. But it's the principle for me that Andrew Berry is trying to take swings when the receiver room's a little more bare than we thought it would be. What did you make of that? The Browns going out and trying to at least see what it's going to take to get Chris Olave.
Well, I remember before the draft hearing all types of conversations about the Browns should go out and get Olave. And you say that it might have been too much. I'm wondering what that too much is, because we talk about Andrew Berry's specialty every single year. And while we already had our one little receiver splash with Deontay Johnson, which not everybody expected, we still haven't seen the signature one where he's going and trading for a 5th round pick or a 3rd round pick and doing and getting the last little juice. Well, not necessarily the last little juice, because 2,000-yard season to Amari Cooper, 1,000-yard season right out the bat for Gruden. It's not really the last juice, but going out and getting one of those players for cheap. So I'm wondering exactly what is the price tag for Chris Olave, because I'd be okay with giving up a 3rd. I mean, you want to talk about a bag? How many seconds do we got next year? I feel like we got more 2s coming up one of these years.
They have expendable resources, but I think my not worry, but thought process would be, okay, you trade for him, rookie contract's coming to an end real soon. You're going to have to pay him. That's probably why the Saints want to get him off their hands. But at the same time, injuries aside, because he's dealt with injuries, I don't know why the Saints don't want to pay this guy. He's a talented player. We're going to talk more about the wide receiver room in Around the Land, the Q&A segment. We're going to move on to Never Sunny in Berea, up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and this is Never Sunny in Berea, our patented segment where we attribute weather reports to 3 people in the Cleveland Browns building. There seems like there's a lot to talk about, but when you break it down, it's all about the quarterback. So we're going to start with the quarterback. There's been a lot of news about Kenny Pickett lately. Flacco dominated the storylines in the offseason, obviously into the draft, post-draft. It was about both the rookies, but all of a sudden, Kenny Pickett might get first-team reps over Joe Flacco. Kenny Pickett's the first quarterback seen in the video that the Browns posted talking about surviving on a deserted island. Everything is pointing to Kenny Pickett. We're seeing so much Kenny Pickett stuff. What weather report are you giving to Kenny Pickett, former Steelers quarterback, now Browns quarterback Kenny Pickett?
I don't even know if I can, give a weather report. It feels like, because what I'm thinking in my head, it feels like Kenny Pickett is, while he's so front center right now, it just seems like he's the middle child that's just being left out in everything, because we aren't really talking, maybe it's just us as fans not wanting Kenny Pickett to be the starting quarterback, so we're kind of just trying to overlook it. But like you said, it seems as if all of the signs are pointing towards Kenny Pickett getting the start. So, what exactly type of what's an overlooked type of weather? Whatever's an over type of weather, I feel like that's what it is. It's like I can't even put it. I'm thinking it's like winter.
Okay.
You know when it's like that 3rd snowstorm that we've had, but it's the good snow where you could go out and sled. You know what I mean? But no one wants to go do that because we already did that during the first snowstorm.
And the second snowstorm.
And the second snowstorm. Yeah. So, the 3rd one's just kind of we're overlooking this 3rd snowstorm. When it closed schools down, you get to go outside, you can take advantage of it. But, we don't really want this 3rd snowstorm. So, I guess I'll go that.
Ooh, I think that's a great comparison. I think the middle child comparison is a great, overlooked. I think it's great. I think the Browns know something we don't about Kenny Pickett. I'll be real with you. I think the Browns know something we don't about Kenny Pickett. I think it's sunny for Kenny Pickett.
It is.
I think he has had belief instilled in him from Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry. That trade they made, moving DTR, and we loved DTR when he was here on the field, straight up wasn't good enough. That was the reality of it. That move they made was shocking, made no sense, was not expected, but you brought up a great point. It was like a month ago, maybe even more than that. We don't know how the Browns felt about Kenny Pickett in that draft, 3 years ago? We have no idea. He could have been their guy for all we know, right? The Browns now get another chance at Kenny Pickett, and you're telling me that Kevin Stefanski did not have a heavy hand in randomly trading for a backup / 3rd string quarterback? You're insane. That is very clearly a Stefanski guy who he's seen front and center year after year. I think from the public eye, you're right. It's the 3rd snowstorm where we're sick of this. We've had 2 snowstorms. We've had a delayed opening and a school closing already. We're done with this. We just want the nicer weather. I think for Kenny Pickett, it's sunny. I think it's beautiful out for him right now. I don't think he's playing with house money. I don't think he cares.
What if this is how we're looking for the Andrew Berry specialty in terms of the receiver? What if he's trying? What if the move was Kenny Pickett? Like, you think back to the previous years. Now, obviously, Amari Cooper was more established than Kenny Pickett. Jerry Jeudy wasn't necessarily more established than Kenny Pickett, but he was younger and or maybe not even younger, essentially. But the juice was still in there. But when you look at Kenny Pickett, it's almost like, hey, this is a former first-round guy that obviously didn't get put in the best situation in Pittsburgh. And then you know what it was in Philly when you got Jalen Hurts. You're not going to let him get any of those major reps there. This is that kind of like that second win with the Sam Darnold, with the Baker Mayfields of the world, where it's like, if it doesn't work out here in Cleveland, chances are it's probably not going to work out. So this could be his final go-around.
Yeah, I also think there's some substance with Deontay Johnson coming back. I mean, obviously, there's a history with them. 2022 is most recent year with Kenny Pickett, I believe. 882 yards, just under 900 yards. Like, there's chemistry there, regardless of the stats. But I think that is absolutely a part of it, too. I also think, like I talked about, like both talked about, like, this seems to be a Stefanski guy. Dylan Gabriel seems to be a Stefanski guy. Flacco, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. But
it's a Myles Garrett guy.
Which, you know what, at this point, that's fine. Like, I'm not complaining about that at all. But there are the other guys that seem like Haslam's guys, like Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. So I want to talk about Jimmy Haslam, but not just in the quarterback world, because there's so much going on. Obviously, we talked about the tush push, but the stadium stuff. Seems like it's all but Brook Park at this point, whether you want that or not, whether you want a dome or not. It seems like that's the case. Justin Bibbs said, there's more important priorities in the Cleveland Browns. It seems like Brook Park is on the horizon.
That was crazy, actually. Like, that comment, it kind of went over my head the first time I saw it. But I'm like, you do realize what a championship would do to the city of Cleveland.
Yeah.
You want to talk about priorities? Like, come on, man.
And
watch your mouth.
It's crazy because, like, I feel like mayors or just like leaders of a city or a state would say there's more important priorities than our city's football team. And most people will be like, oh, we love our football team, but yeah, you're right. But like you said,
this is Cleveland.
You have nobody has any idea because they have won a Super Bowl. We don't know what a Super Bowl would do to the city. I'm terrified for what a Super Bowl would do with this city. But like any other city, I think that would have flown. Like any city that has a Super Bowl, at least if their mayor said that, they'd be like, come on. But yeah, you're right. Here, whoo.
I mean, we're talking about $1.3 million for a basketball when we weren't even a basketball town. This city is going to erupt. I just think about all of the hype that happened in 2023. They were commercials, billboards, new merch. They were bringing in all these different people. Like, they were prepping up just for a playoff run. If this city went to the Super Bowl, you'd have to close 55th exit minimum. That would probably be the start of exits you'd have to cover out just to get into Cleveland because the city would be so packed. So I think it's just one of those things where they're kind of like, they're playing chess right now, throwing a little shots here, little shots here. But in terms of the weather report for Jimmy Haslam, I think it's going to be that weather where it's like sunny right here, but you look over just an inch here, and it's a massive storm.
I like that.
You know what I mean? So, like, whether the storm is Jimmy Haslam, like, hey, screw you, we're going to Brook Park, or whether he's the sunny one and he's just waiting for the storm to hit him, I think it's that right down the middle. You know when you're driving, you're like, oh, my gosh, we're driving into a storm, and then you look this way, and it's just nothing but sun. That's my weather report.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's more sunny than stormy. I'm trying to figure out the weather that best describes how I'm feeling because I agree with you. There's so many good things happening from the top down in the Cleveland Browns organization right now. Whether you agree with Brook Park or not, financially it'd be good for the Browns. Like there's really no debate about that. I think we overlooked the comments he made about Deshaun Watson a couple months ago.
He's growing.
The closed door comments, he's growing. And all the stuff that's coming out about Deshaun Watson now, it's all from Watson's end. Like, it's not Haslam saying, yep, we'll welcome you back. No, it's Watson posting stuff on Instagram, his comeback, his road to recovery. I don't know if we can say silence is really loud with Jimmy Haslam because this is not like his responsibility to make comments about a quarterback's Instagram posts or a quarterback's road to recovery months upon months out from when he could actually be back. But I think the weather's starting to turn. Like, this is I don't know if I want to compare it to the gloomy weather right now, but once we get like a 65, 70 degree partially cloudy day in May or early June when we know summer's coming. I think it's the weather starting to turn, Jimmy Haslam starting to turn, the tush-push stuff as well. I think that was really, really good. Obviously, you can believe what you want to believe, but I also think something that's overlooked in that is Kevin Stefanski said there's no injury data, which is correct. There's no injury data to back this, so we don't need to ban it. And there's been plenty of times, at least in the public eye, when Jimmy Haslam has done something that seems to differ from what Kevin Stefanski is wanting. This is them in line, and I don't know the last time that's happened, to be fully honest with you, unless it was the Dylan Gabriel pick that we don't know something about. Like, this is, to me, the first time where we've really seen those two guys in line in at least a while.
I think we just need to give Jimmy Haslam a little bit of credit, just for the simple fact that he actually is growing into the owner that we kind of want. You know what I mean? It seems as if Jimmy Haslam is always doing something to piss fans off, but this year, he's kind of done all of the right things. He's said all of the right things, and for the most part, he's been out of the way. So I think us as fans, we tend to get a little over the top in terms of the owner talk. I remember Dan Gilbert before we won the championship. He was in that same kind of boat where it's like, I'm tired of Dan Gilbert. Get him out of here. Dolan's obviously, you know what I mean, with the money situation with him. But the product on the field is great every season, essentially. We're at that point now where it's like, okay, we went through that treacherous stretch of having your hand dabbled into the cookie jar, and finally he hit that mousetrap in there where it's like, okay, let me step back a little bit and let's let these guys go to work. So we got to give Jimmy Haslam a little credit.
I agree, and we'll transition to the next, I guess, adjacent topic with Jimmy Haslam, and that's Deshaun Watson. Obviously, we talked about the comeback stuff, but in his world now, on his road to recovery, posting these things on Instagram, and the modern medicine or trail that's been blazed by, I guess, Kirk Cousins, but really Aaron Rodgers with the quick recovery. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, what do you think the weather report is for Deshaun Watson right now, just holistically, not necessarily how it relates to the quarterback scenario, but in his road to recovery and what it looks like for him right now?
Deshaun Watson is living in that one day we had this past November where we got smacked with a 59-degree day, and we were like, wow, this is nice.
Yeah.
Right? It's it looks all good right now on the social media forefront. But let's be honest, once this thing passes, the season comes around, it's going to be right back to the gloomy days, rain, sun, snow, whatever you want to call it. But in his world, it seems as if it's just it's the count me out weather. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to stay around too long. There's not going to be 60 degrees in November, December too much longer. So I think he truly, one thing I will say about Deshaun, he been in that gym. Yeah. If you see them, he looks like he's put on muscle mass. So I hate that we're the ones put in this situation, because it's man, what if this is actually the year where he, you know what I mean? The first year he was real nonchalant. The next year he was kind of a little bit more bought in. But I don't know. There's something about that count me out factor that I think Browns fans feed off of, which is why we loved Baker Mayfield so much, and we loved all these guys that have been counted out year after year after year. I'm not gonna try to hold any more hope. I think the ship has sailed, because I'm on to other things that we got JoJo back, we got Shador and all these quarterbacks, but I don't know, man. I just think if you leave the door open, there's always that possibility for him to walk through it.
Absolutely. I before I say my weather report, I agree, number one. Number two, I've noticed this just from all of us talking the past 2 months. The most optimistic and the most, I guess, hopeful is the right word, we've been about the Browns quarterback scenario has been when Deshaun Watson has been away rehabbing. Yep. When Deshaun Watson has not been in the picture holistically, I think as Browns fans, that has been where our mind is the best as it relates to this quarterback position. As he comes back, we don't know. I'm going to take your weather report you gave Jimmy Haslam. I think it's that sunny over here, stormy over here weather report where Deshaun Watson's living in the sun. And for what it's worth, it is a really, really quick recovery, and I hope it has been done right,
especially from the mishap of re-tearing it.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. It is a quick recovery. So in Deshaun Watson's world, being on what seems like an expedited road to recovery, I don't know how it relates to the re-tear or the setback in terms of the overall process, but quickly getting back and throwing football with no boot on. In his world, it's sunny. Everywhere else, as it relates to him on the Browns, is that stormy weather. And I think it's really clear to see just from the play in the past, there's only so much sun or nice weather left with Deshaun Watson. I don't know what can fix it. I don't know really how it can be much different than it was in the past in a similar offense. Like, it's not, it doesn't seem like anything's really going to change if he steps in there until proven otherwise. But I'm going with that weird split weather. We're going to talk about the quarterback situation a little bit later, but we have a very, very fun top 5 list coming for you. Before we do that, though, we are going to draft our ideal flag football offense using the last 5 decades of Browns players: a quarterback, a running back / center, and 3 pass catchers. Up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and we are doing a very special draft for you. If you did not hear, the NFL just allowed players to play in the 2028 Olympic flag football matches. Now, technically, by the rules, only one Cleveland Brown can go. Only one player per NFL team can go for the U.S. or whoever their country is. But for all intents and purposes, we are going to do our own draft of Cleveland Browns for a 5-on-5 flag football team. A quarterback, 3 pass catchers, receivers, whoever, and a running back / center. But we are going to take, instead of from each individual team, a player from each of the past 5 decades from the Cleveland Browns. So 2020s, 2010s, 2000s, 1990s, and 1980s. Preferably if the Browns played the majority of their snaps in that time period. It's preferred, but if they played any snaps into that decade, we can technically take them. We've already decided the order. Pat is going to kick us off with the 101. We're going to go this way to Zay, then back to me, and then I'll send it back in a snake draft. Without further ado, let's get into it. Pat, who are you taking with the 101? I think I already know. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I think I already know too, but I actually turned the corner on that on the draft card like Patrick Ewing in the NBA draft for the draft lottery. But yeah, number 1 overall, I think there's one best player on the offensive side that you can't really miss with this guy. You need pass catchers, you need running backs, quarterbacks in this draft. You can't really pass up Josh Gordon at the 101. It's just, I know we all probably wanted to have him, but yeah, that's the best guy. You can't really pass him up.
Flag football cheat code.
Yeah,
you
for real.
can pass him up because the guy that I'm going to take with my number 1 overall pick in a tougher year, might I say, because once you get up into those 10s, 20s, it gets a little bit more favoritism starts to play into a little bit. Give me Bernie with my first overall pick. Need a QB. I mean, nothing like good old Bernie.
Slinging it, dude.
Wow.
He'll throw some touchdowns to you. He'll throw some touchdowns to the other team, though, too.
Chill.
That's the thing. That's the thing about Bernie, man.
I'll be real with you guys. My 101 is still on the board. I agree with you. The later decades are harder, and I have no idea how Eric Metcalf's still on the board. Like, I have no idea. Well, I look at the 90s and players who played then, and it's like Eric Metcalf and everybody else. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking that, and I'm banking on some good players being available elsewhere.
Quick question
That's
related to that, too, is like, do you think the Browns have the best returners of all time, like as a return group?
Probably,
Dennis
yeah.
Northcutt, Josh Cribbs, Eric Metcalf. Mm-hmm. I'd be hard-pressed to find 3 better. I mean, the Bears have Hester, but who as a franchise has better returners?
Well, they
Open
had
that up to the floor.
No, I was going to say no.
Seahawks had Harvin and Hester. I'm pretty sure Devin Hester played for the Seahawks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but that was past his.
Right.
That was past. his
agreed,
time.
agreed. In their primes, absolutely. But I'm back with the first pick in the second round. I think I gotta stick with the throwbacks. I will take my chances. Yeah, I'll stick with throwbacks. I'll go 80s Webster Slaughter as my first pass catcher. I'll put Eric Metcalf at running back, center, utility, can do it all. Webster Slaughter as my first pass catcher. Zay, back to you.
Webster.
Now this one is gonna be, I don't want my boy getting mad at me because it would be him. It would be him. But when you talk about the 2000s, and I think about my childhood and just I remember the hype. I remember going to the Hall of Fame and getting his autograph with Paul Warfield. Oh, okay. And obviously he threw some dirt on Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? I'm not too fond of him throwing the dirt on our city.
Maybe I don't know.
And I really don't want to do it. But come on, Braylon Edwards. I mean, what are we talking about here? This guy was a stud
himself.
when he was with us. Even though he had his few drops and, the term Braylon still gets thrown around, freely here in the city of Cleveland. But Braylon at my receiver position seems like a no-brainer. Cribbs would have been my other.
I was saying, I did not think you were going there.
Man, that's a tough one, too, because, Braylon had one of those diving catches in 2007. I think it was the season opener, too. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget that as long as I live. One of the greatest catches I've ever seen. But, man, this one's a tough one for me, too, because I got the 2010s cover with Josh Gordon. Got a lot of decades to get through, but I like the backyard football that Baker plays. I think he would be 2000s, right? Because he was the end of the 2010s.
2020s.
Oh, 2020s, you mean?
2020s,
Yes,
that's what I mean. He was the end of the 2010s.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
end of
Well,
the
he played it in the
2020s.
2020s.
Okay,
Yes,
we'll
so
count it. I think
2020s.
I'll go Baker Mayfield as my quarterback for 2020s.
Okay, so that's 2 for each of us. Back to you, Pat, third round.
Okay,
first
back to me
pick.
on the third round, just like we would have drawn it up. I think Braylon Edwards would have been maybe my pick here, but so it's Pat's catchers. You can include tight ends. I like Kellen Winslow from the 2000s.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He was a specimen, guys. Like, he never took off here because of injuries and some off the field stuff. But like, I think I'll go Kellen Winslow here as well for
Put
the
him at
2000s.
your running back center.
Yeah,
type.
honestly, I could.
I like that. It's a good pick.
This is where it gets extra tough for me because you're talking about flag. So you need athleticism, you need versatility. And I think I'm going to stick with you in the tight end department, and I'm going a fan favorite right now. Give me the Chief.
Oh, man.
Okay, that's a
David
good one.
Njoku.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
And,
That's a good pick.
And if anything, our touchdown celebrations are going to be fire.
Yeah, that is a good one. That's 2020s.
2020s,
Yeah,
yep.
Okay.
that's a good one. I had another tight end on the board that nobody took yet. I don't know if I'm going to take him. We'll do honorable mentions at the end, but I have no idea how Josh Cribbs got back to me. I'm taking Josh Cribbs from the 2000s. I have no idea how I just did that.
Yeah. We'll
But
see how he
now-
feels about being a third round pick.
Yeah, well,
We'll ask him on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, undrafted.
Hey, man.
He I guess that gives him the chip on his shoulder to
Yeah.
perform for you. So
I hope
Yeah.
so. Him and
I hope
Eric
so, too.
Metcalf in the same offense is scary. Now, this is where it's tough because, like, you guys both have your quarterback, so I know I don't have to take a quarterback right now, but I know I have to pick somebody from the 2010s or the 2020s. I know which quarterback I want. I just don't know if the third receiver that's on my board will be there for my last pick. So I'll take the receiver.
Oh, man.
Give me Odell Beckham Jr. I know, yeah.
With
I
his
know.
dad? I mean,
I'll.
does
You know
his dad
what?
bring along the
Sure.
drama or no?
I'll take it. If I can get Odell even in some semblance of his prime,
guess.
it might be the best receiver on this list. So I will take Odell. That is my fourth pick. So the first pick of the fourth round. Back to you, Zay. Let's hear it.
I got 90s and 10s to do, and I know I need another receiver. This is where it's really, really tough because after Josh Gordon, there's not really too many. So you got to go back into the later ends of the 10s. And I think we all know it's contagious.
Yeah.
It's
Give me
contagious.
Jarvis Landry, man.
Damn.
I was
It's
going.
That's a
contagious.
culture pick, too.
It's a
I was
culture
going
pick.
back and forth between him and Odell. Yeah, that's a good
culture
one.
pick.
It's a good one.
Jeez.
No, it's a good one for sure. Pat.
All right, so I'm working backwards here. I got 20s, 10s, and the 2000s all taken. Looking for, let me see, I need a pass catcher and a running back. For flag football purposes, the 90s running backs, 80s running backs aren't really necessarily what you would want, but I mean, you can still put them at your center, get a little blocking, I guess, if you need, right? Like, so the guy kind of broke my dad's heart, broke all of Cleveland's heart a little bit in the late 80s, but I think he can redeem himself on this flag football team. To be honest with you, putting up the Browns jersey back on, get me Ernest Biner. Ernest Biner at my running back position in the 80s. I think he can redeem himself, guys.
I like that. Okay,
Yeah.
so we each have one pick left now, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
yeah,
right.
one pick left. Pat, your pick, which decade do you need right now?
The only one I need now is the 90s, and I need another pass catcher, which is a little bit slim pickings right now.
Okay, so Zay, your last decade is the
Is the 90s. The 90s.
Yeah,
okay.
90s.
Then mine's the 2010s. I think I mean I know who I'm
It's
gonna
gonna be a
take,
tough
but
one.
all right, you guys got the 90s. I got the 90s squared away right away. I'm glad about it. But Pat,
Yeah.
finish us.
So that's
with
the other thing
final
too. Is
pick.
like, you ideally would take someone on the offensive end here. You could look defensively too, but I don't know. In the 90s, Brian Brennan, Webster Slaughter, they were a pretty good tandem. Ozzie Newsome's in there, you know, kind of a jump ball threat, possession type receiver. But I think I'm going to go for a little bit of a shorter receiver, deep ball threat, more of a speed guy. I'm going Brian Brennan.
I like
Sleeper
that.
pick, to be honest with you guys.
Speed's important.
Yep.
Speed's important for sure. Zay, final pick.
So I was just looking at it, and the guy that I had isn't in the 90s. I was going to go Hanford Dixon.
Oh, no.
He ended in 89.
okay. Oh, ended in 89.
He
Oh,
ended in
interesting.
89. I
Okay.
mean, you talk about 26 interceptions. Just
I mean, that would've been a great
He
pick.
could have
Top
played on
dog.
receiver end.
I
But
could have sworn he played into the 90s. Man, that's
someone that did play into the 90s, he only played 1 year with us, or 2 years with us in the 90s. Then
Counts.
he found his way in
Counts.
with the Colts. But give me Reggie Langford.
Ooh.
I feel like that's got to be a sleeper pick for the 90s, right?
Okay.
Go
Yeah.
Reggie.
I had one other receiver. Yeah, receiver in the 90s. Not Reggie Langford, but I now need a quarterback. and I made a big board. This was my number one quarterback on my big board. Was worried about him being taken way before this. Backyard football to a T. Fun flag football, running around avoiding defenders. It is Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I am so shocked that nobody took him.
He didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
with you.
Man.
I think we'll do honorable mentions in a second, but like there's other good options at quarterback. There's other like non-traditional quarterbacks. Sure,
Tyler Huntley would have been.
Tyler Huntley would have been good. I think
Tyler,
DTR would have been a good one. There's some
Sure.
good ones. But like you talk about like just go fun, have fun, play backyard football. That maybe NFL history for all I care. 2010s. Johnny Manziel. I
That's
want
exactly
my
what he did at
quarterback.
Texas A&M with Mike Evans. I mean,
Exactly.
you saw him running in circles and then just launching one up to Mike Evans in the end zone.
Exactly.
Had College
All right.
Station going up, boys.
We'll recap our teams, but let's do honorable mentions. I got, I guess 3 technically. Travis Benjamin, shout out my guy Justin Renner. He suggested him for my list for sure. Speedster, take the top off, all that stuff. But if it got back to me in the 2020s and I wanted to take a quarterback, call me crazy, I would have taken Dylan Gabriel. I think you watch him, height's not going to be an issue playing behind no offensive line, right? That's not going to be an issue. Can make every throw in the book. He can run around and avoid tacklers. I also think Dylan Sampson would have been a good pick too, just because how good he is in space. Those are my 3, I guess, honorable mentions. You guys have any others you had on your list but were not drafted?
Kevin Johnson was one of mine.
Yep.
Although the sour taste, the last memory that I remember of Kevin Johnson just happens to be in that playoff game versus Steelers. But I mean, nonetheless, he was pretty good for us. And then I think you have another one that I would say as well.
Yeah, so I mean, a couple that we thought of too is Dennis Northcutt, talking about those returners guys, but also, I mean, Ozzie Newsome, jump ball threat, kind of Antonio Gates out there, not really fleet of foot necessarily, but good hands could help you out as well. But
on the
those
defensive
are the main
side,
ones.
though, on the
Yeah.
defensive side, because obviously we only did offense, Clay Matthews would have been a guy that I went to, and a guy that no one, I guarantee you, no one would have thought of. Buster Screen.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Buster Screen
He could jump out the gym.
He was just one of those players that I just vividly remember getting cooked every single Sunday. But when I watched him, I'm like, he's trying as hard as he possibly can. So give me the effort all day. And you translate that into flag football, Buster Screen would have been an absolute dog.
I like that. Before we recap our teams, I do have a question because obviously we did the last 5 decades, not just the history of the Cleveland Browns. I mean, elephant in the room here is Jim Brown, right?
Of course.
Let me ask you where you would have taken him / would you have taken him? Because it's a different game.
It's a different game.
This isn't tackle football. I'll be real. If I had the opportunity to take him or Eric Metcalf in a flag football setting, I would have taken Metcalf.
Yeah.
I would have
so
done it
too.
every time.
I don't know if I would have drafted Jim Brown just because of he's not going to be able to run through somebody.
Yeah,
You know what
exactly,
I mean? And
exactly.
that's what Jim Brown was going to be doing. Was running over people. So in the flag sense, I would probably have to give him the good old gentleman's pass.
I like
People
that.
forget about how he played lacrosse at Syracuse, I think it was, when he was in college. So he's a tremendous athlete, but
If this was
it
rugby,
exactly. If it was
Yeah.
rugby, dude, if you want to put him on the 15s team, the 7s team, whatever it is, get him out there. But I don't know about flag football, fellas.
Yeah, flag football's tough. All right, let's recap the teams. We'll put a little post out on the socials with a poll to vote who had the best team. We'll keep track as the offseason goes. But, Pat, you can read your team off first. We'll go around that same order. Let's hear your team holistically, top to bottom.
Yes, sir. Guys, my first pick, Josh Gordon. And then I went with, I had Baker Mayfield, Kellen Winslow, Ernest Biner, and then Brian Brennan.
I like that.
That's my
Okay.
picks.
obviously the winning team, Bernie Kosar, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Reggie Langford, Braylon, Jarvis, and Njoku. That's crack in my veins.
That is good. I got quarterback Johnny Manziel, running back, center, utility, whatever you need. Eric Metcalf throwing to Odell, Josh Cribbs, and Webster Slaughter again. We'll put a poll out for you guys to vote. Let us know what you think. Let us know if we missed anybody as well that you would add to your team. We're going to move to our next segment, the other top 5 list we have, the 5 most important Cleveland Browns games. I know 2.5, 3 months out, but the 5 most important Browns games, how they will impact the season, up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Say. And since we don't have an interview today, we have another top 5 list for you. The 5 most important Cleveland Brown games in 2025. 3 months out from the season, looking way, way ahead. But it's fresh off the schedule release. We're making our hypotheticals and record predictions. We got 5 games apiece that we want to talk about that can impact the season dramatically. Do you want to go first or do you want me to kick it off?
I'll go first. I feel
All
like
right.
your list is probably better than mine.
No.
Because my list is kind of like biased.
There's no
what I wanna see.
wrong list. We're 3.5 months out.
Yeah, I just this was a tough list to make
Yeah, it
because I
was.
feel like every game at this point is super important
Yeah,
for the Browns. But
absolutely.
starting out with number 5, I'm gonna go to Week 14 in that Titans game.
Yeah.
I just feel like you have to throw this game in here for a few reasons. Number one, it's so late into the season, and we could potentially be talking about Cam Ward versus Shador Sanders at that point. But Callahan's coming back to town. Obviously, Cam Ward, a quarterback that was, rumored the Browns tried to trade up to the first overall pick to get. And like I said, obviously the first answer is the main reason. It's just the question mark between Cam Ward and Shador Sanders.
Yeah.
If we get that Week 14, we could be talking about a battle for decades to come. So I'm super excited for that matchup.
I like that, and I think that's a very logical point where the Browns could have either of the rookie quarterbacks, whether making their debut or just playing, like from weeks prior. I think that's a really good one. The Callahan, not revenge game, but like the Callahan game coming back, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see how that Browns offensive line plays in that game.
Yeah.
My 5th spot, I have Week 2 at Baltimore. I think early in the season, it's really important to get the measuring stick games where other teams don't have as much film on you as they normally would, especially with the Browns. The offense is going to look dramatically different this year, I think. So I think that's a big, big game. The emotions are going to be worn off from the Week 1 game against the Bengals. Now it's okay. We played a game. We made it out alive, injuries or whatever. We got another bigger game the next week. How much can that Browns team show up? And I don't want to use measuring stick because it's Week 2 and you would have only played one game prior to that, but the Ravens every single year are a measuring stick because they are, at least the past decade or so, the gold standard in the AFC North. So I have the Ravens at my number 5 game, Week 2 at Baltimore, also the first road game for the Browns this year.
I'm going to go the week before that. I think it's very important to start this season off on the right foot and not like what we had last year with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Because that was literally every indication
That set
of
the
what
tone.
the season was going to be.
Yeah.
You talk about a game where it's an AFC North opponent. Joe Burrow says he feels as best as he's ever been. He actually got a win against Myles Garrett recently. So, past couple times, I think, actually, that he's gotten one. But I just think you talk about a measuring stick. It seems as if the Browns have went all in on this defense. It's going to be a great measuring stick for guys like Mason Graham. Obviously, Myles Garrett's going to be the next step. Is he going to say what he did in his press conference where you're going to see it on his play that he wants to be here? Obviously, you got some new faces on the ends. You don't have no JOK. But I think in terms of the defense, you are going to get a very good glimpse of how well they can perform against a high-powered offense because let's face it, this Bengals team was averaging 30 points a game last year. So Week 1, you got to come out fighting, and you got to set the tone.
100%. I got that on my list as well. But my next game is Week 10 at the Jets off the bye, just because I think this is the chance the Browns will get to give a team their best shot after multiple weeks of rest. I think when you look at the Week 8 game against New England, very important, talk about that as well. But you're going to roll into a bye midseason. This is, again, a very logical point to change quarterbacks. I really think the Browns, because of how difficult the first 8 games are going to have some hard conversations, are going to have to look in the mirror a little bit with the overall structure of the team, the personnel that's continually rolled out there, and it's a great opportunity for them to have an extra week of preparation to make the dramatic changes or somewhat dramatic changes, the dramatic changes you can make in 2 weeks for a roster, for a package or two, for your starting lineup, that bye week. So I think you're going to get the most nuanced and the best shot out of the Browns outside of Week 1 probably, Week 10 against the Jets on the road. And again, could be the first game for Shador Sanders or Dylan Gabriel.
Well, that's my number 3, the Jets week after the bye. I just think it's one of those things where you look at the first 8-9 games of the season and you're like, wow, this is a gauntlet. So playing the hypothetical, of course, if the Browns come out at 2-6 or 3-5 or whatever the case may be, what team are you going to get outside of the bye week? Are you going to get a team that's going to lay down? Or are you going to get a team that's going to come out here and try to fight for that last little push to maybe be in that playoff conversation? That mixed with the fact that it seems like the Jets and Browns always have some type of firework game, whether it was the 2023 year or the Joe Flacco comeback game at the end. So I'm definitely interested to see how this team looks after that brutal gauntlet and after a week off of the bye week. So that's my number 3.
I like that a lot. My number 3 is the week before the bye week at New England. This is a weird game because it's not a game you feel like you should win, but the Patriots, although will have proven something by week 8, are a moderately unproven team walking into this year that looks dramatically different, that got way better. So for me, this is a game where, number one, going into a bye week, you can lay it all on the line, right? You can know after this week, you got an extra week of rest, your body can get right. A little bit of a psychological boost for the Browns, just knowing that they're going to head into a bye week. They're also going to be coming off another AFC East opponent the week before that in Miami. You have some familiarity in the division. You see certain things on tape. And I just think this is a game that everybody, us included, thinks is not winnable for the Cleveland Browns, or is not likely winnable because the Patriots on paper are a better team.
Mike Vrabel, too.
Mike Vrabel, I look at this and I'm like, this is a total trap game. Total trap game for the Patriots, where you think you should beat the Cleveland Browns. You think they're going to jog into the bye week the next week, and the reality is they're going to lay it all on the line. Like, I think if the Browns were to make some type of late season wild card push, we would look back at this game, if they were to win it, as a game that they didn't just mail in, walk into the bye week, and a deciding factor in a potential, let's say 9-8, 7-seed wild card finish. I think this week, as well as the Jets week, would be one we look at for that.
I agree for sure. Going to my week, or my number 2, I would say this one's just a little personal. This one doesn't have anything to necessarily do with, the deep down in, but the Lions game week 4 for me, just because I'm a huge, I don't want to say a huge Lions supporter, but I rock with the Lions on another level. My cousin is a diehard Lions fan. It's probably going to be a game that I actually travel to with him and actually get to see a game with him for the first time. Obviously a little bit of trash talking to go on back there. So personally and selfishly, I'm definitely looking forward to that Lions game, and we need to come away with the win, especially if I'm going to drive up to Detroit with my annoying cousin, who will probably give me crap if we witness a loss together. So,
and that's gonna be early in the season too. Yeah. You're gonna get best punch out of Detroit.
Yep.
Whoo, that's gonna be a fun game. Might be a lot of points in that game. Hot take.
Please.
Yeah.
We need points. I'm tired of 15-point games.
Well, I'll tell you what. I trust the Browns pass offense. I don't trust the Browns pass offense against a lot of teams. Looking at Detroit's secondary, I don't think they have a horrible matchup. So I like that. I think that could be a good game. My number 2, you already mentioned week 1 against Cincinnati. You have to start the year off strong. I mean, this is, again, a team that a lot of people will look at from the outside looking in and say, Bengals are a better team. They got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, all these guys. They do. Absolutely. But the reality is the Bengals could be walking into that game without Trey Hendrickson. The Bengals, historically, have struggled a little bit against the Browns. And I think Martin Emerson, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome,
they get up for these games.
They do. These are the types of games they get up for. And I hate to keep going back to 2 years ago, but you watch the film from 2 years ago. Martin Emerson, Grant Delpit, I mean, everybody played a pretty good game on the defense, but those two guys especially, they got up. They did. Mm-hmm. That was like, you watch that week 1, 2023, and the Browns defense fly around, Myles Garrett make all these plays, everybody on the defensive line making plays. You're like, whoa, okay, this team could fight. They could absolutely fight. And then you talked about it, 2024, you watch Dallas game, and you're like, outside of the Dalvin Tomlinson sack, you're like, oh, this is the team we're going to watch all year. So I think you have to start the year off right. It sets the tone for the remainder of the season. Finish it off with your number 1. We might have the same number 1. I have a funny feeling we do.
My number 1, it's 2 games, and I just think it's the Steelers games.
Okay, yeah.
It's this is such a big year for the Steelers games for a multitude of reasons. Number 1, you can't lose to Mason Rudolph. You can't lose to Mason Rudolph that first week. Like, let's be honest. That's something that you will remember. Kenny Pickett was benched for Mason Rudolph, or vice versa, or however. And I can't deal with that. And the second and another reason playing into the quarterbacks, the second to last week, you could be seeing Will Howard. Can you imagine if you lost to Will Howard? Oh my gosh, that would be an Ohio State's Browns fans' worst nightmare, because there are a lot of fans in this town that wanted Will Howard. But I think it's one of those things where we mentioned it on the last show, where it seems as if the Steelers it's only a matter of time before they have that off season where they're at the bottom of the division. This could be the year where if the Browns beat them twice, or get a sweep, dare I say, that we could be looking at it and be like, we're the reason why we put them in last place. And obviously the bragging rights that come with beating the Steelers and along, but you have to handle the Steelers this year.
I agree wholeheartedly. That's why it's my number 1 as well.
Okay.
I do think, obviously, Week 16 is important. Could see Will Howard, could see Shador, could see Dylan Gabriel, whoever. That Week 16 game the end of the day, could mean nothing.
Yeah,
That's the reality for either team.
It could just mean last place.
Yeah, literally, you could be fighting for draft position at that point. That's why I think Week 6 is a little more important. You're at Pittsburgh on the road, but we heard Shelby Harris talk about this last week. It is the ultimate test for a team to travel to London the week before and then go and get a divisional opponent off their bye. I walked in here last week thinking I said the Browns didn't even get an end of the stick instead of the short. They didn't even get an end of the stick instead of the short end of the stick. I walked out of this studio listening to Shelby Harris and being like, if the Browns beat the Steelers in Week 6, they're going to dramatically change their season. Like, that is the type of game, the type of win that tests you as a football team that no other game can. Getting a division rival off a bye after you were overseas, it is the ultimate test. And I think if the Browns stay above water those first 5 weeks, whatever that looks like, 2-3, 1-4, whatever that may be, and then they win that Steelers game, the tide could start to turn with 2 winnable games those next 2 weeks, a bye week, then the Jets. The tide could turn a little bit.
I think it's gonna be the first half of the season is gonna be such a roller coaster ride.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna see Week 1. I think I kind of feel like that should be the number one, just because it was such an indicator of what the season was going to be last year. You talk about blowouts. You talk about defense looking bad. You talk about Deshaun Watson making a perfect pass to Amari Cooper and him dropping it. Drops were the MO every single week. Just come out and give us a fighting chance Week 1, because that will let me all I need to know for the weeks prior.
I completely agree. We are going to talk so much about the Week 1 roster, more than we usually do, in the next segment, Around the Land. Next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and this is Around the Land, our mailbag Q&A segment where we answer questions from you on our socials, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or YouTube, all the same handle, at Honor the Land, just like you see on here. We got 3 questions today. A lot of quarterback talk, usually has to be with a little wide receiver discussion sprinkled in. Pat, take us away with the first question, the almighty elephant in the room. Let's hear it.
Yeah, guys. Any chance that Deshaun Watson's going to be the starter? That's the number one question.
Let's do percentages, because I think there's a chance, right? Just flat out, is there a chance?
Yeah, there's a chance.
There's a chance. Let's go percentage.
I give it 4 for his jersey number. I give it a 4% chance. But this is the Browns. We had a 99.19% chance to beat the Jets that one game, and we somehow found a way to lose it. So I just think it's, as much as people don't like Mary Kay, she always is around the right answer or topic or something, and she's never closed the door on it from the inside stuff that she has gotten.
Yeah.
And now obviously we know the Jimmy Haslam comments where he talks about the big swing and a miss and all of that stuff, and I think we run with that. I think they are past it. But the fact that they haven't 100% shut the door on it, 4% chance. That 4% could turn into 10, and then a quarterback goes down, that 10% could go to 20. Him healing quicker could lead it to being quicker, but I don't think it gets higher than 15%. I think 4% is where I'm going to go. That's probably too high.
No, I'm going to go higher than that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I just now thought of a scenario. So let's say the Browns they trade Kenny Pickett. Regardless, they trade a veteran going into the season. It's Flacco, 2 rookies with Deshaun, let's just say on IR, and he's ready to go by middle of the season, the bye week, whatever. Let's say Flacco is either not playing well and they want to transition to a rookie. Mm-hmm. Either one of the rookies goes down, the other one doesn't play well, or they're both not playing well. The season's a lost cause at this point, right? Why do you not... Let me frame it like this, actually. Is it better to start a rookie quarterback week 17, week 18 to see what they got against an NFL defense, albeit an NFL defense that, may be resting starters at that point? Or is it worth it more to trot Deshaun Watson out there, show everybody for a 1-game sample size that he still has it, and get something for him next offseason?
No.
You don't think it's worth it?
It's not worth it for so many reasons. Because you have 2 first-round picks next year. you have to see what you have in both Dylan and Shedeur. However you want to cut it. You can't just see Shedeur and not see Dylan. You can't just see Dylan and not see Shedeur. You have to see both. Let's just say Deshaun Watson comes in that week 17 and gets 2 weeks to play. And he goes 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception collectively between the two, right? So we'll go 5 total touchdowns, 1 interception, 600 total yards. That means they're bringing him back next year.
For sure.
That means that alters your draft of how you want to draft. That means you probably retool the offensive again to, I don't want to say do what you did in a full cater to him, but you're altering the offense to fit Deshaun Watson. And you're going through a whole nother offseason of the speculations. You're going through a whole nother offseason of, well, does he still have it? It was only a 2-game sample size. What about the previous 3.5 years? Just the talk around it would be too much of a distraction when it seems as if the Browns are finally on the trajectory that they want themselves to be on. Now, that also comes into the play with the coaching aspect of it. If you're playing Deshaun Watson week 17 or 18, is Kevin Stefanski even still in the building at that point? Because you're probably with a very bad record, right? You probably don't have more than 6 wins.
Yeah.
So I just think there's a lot of things that go into it, and we've already seen that they're afraid of PR nightmares. You can't deal with another Deshaun Watson.
Are they afraid of PR nightmares?
Yes. That's why they didn't bring Flacco back last year.
Well, I think if they weren't afraid of PR nightmares, Watson wouldn't have been a Brown. And I also think they would have continued to pass on Shedeur Sanders. However, I agree with you. I think it's more worth it to start a rookie week 17, week 18, regardless of who they're playing. But what if Jimmy Haslam comes down and is like, look, the season is a lost cause. Just throw Deshaun out there. Let's see if we have anything. Let's see if we can get another pick for him. I think if it's Kevin Stefanski making the decisions, and probably if it's Andrew Berry making the decisions on who the quarterback is, there's no way. There's no way. And the door has been closed. But as we've seen from Mary Kay, from a lot of other people, the door is not closed fully. It's not. It's the closest it's ever been, but it's not closed. And the guy who's just leaving it open a little bit, even with his comments, has to be Jimmy Haslam. And if that is the almighty factor, which it certainly seemed like it was last year in the quarterback play, he, at least in my opinion, would probably lean in a meaningless Week 18 game after both those rookies have played, assuming to Deshaun Watson instead of the rookies. And I don't think it's very likely. Probably I'll give it an 8% chance. I'll double what you got.
Here's my only
I think it's real.
Here's my only thing with the Jimmy Haslam coming down, though. It's just like, at that point, I feel like it comes to the business aspect of the game. Deshaun Watson's not going to fill the seats up. People aren't going to be banging their hand on the table to come see Deshaun Watson play.
I disagree. I think those last game or two, people, maybe not like in the building, but viewership, oh my gosh, so many people would be tuned in to see, does Watson still have it? He's back. It's not like people are going to turn the TV away. In fact, I think more people would turn the TV on for Deshaun Watson in Week 18 than they would for Dylan Gabriel. Probably not Shedeur Sanders, but Dylan Gabriel. I think for sure. It's the Bailey Zappi Week 18 Ravens game again. Like, I think more people would be so much more interested in Deshaun Watson's first game back after a torn Achilles, even if the season is a lost cause, than they would be for a lost cause where you're rolling a rookie quarterback out there. I think ratings-wise, it would be better for Deshaun Watson.
I guess assuming that, but see, then we're going down a really deep rabbit hole.
We are
because if we are at that point,
it's bad.
That means everything failed.
Yeah,
that means Joe Flacco failed. That means Kenny Pickett failed. That means your take on Dylan Gabriel being their second choice failed.
Yeah,
that means Shedeur Sanders wasn't where he like. It would be so bad in the city of Cleveland that we thought last year was as bad as it could have been. It would probably be worse. If that was the case, I don't think I think that's as rock bottom as you could get.
I don't think anything could be worse than last year. I think unless the Browns physically win less than 3 games, that's the only way it could be worse.
If they go 3-14 again, it's worse than last year.
I don't know if it is, because last year there was very, very clear optimism and expectation. This year there's not. And anybody who is legitimately thinking the Browns are a playoff team looking at the roster right now, straight up is delusional. Like, I've been there, kind of still am there in some senses.
I think I'm delusional.
Yeah, I think there's nothing 100% wrong with that, but there are more than just the quarterbacks on the roster we have to talk about, Pat. Let's talk question 2 before we head back to the quarterbacks to finish up.
Yeah, guys, what do you think? What do you think the wide receiver room is going to look like this upcoming season for your Cleveland Browns?
It's a good question.
Exactly what it looks like right now.
Really?
I think we, unless the kid from Menor that they signed in the rookie camp comes in and makes a splash, I think the Browns are pretty much set in stone. We kind of talked about this off show before the show started. It just seems like all of the splashes and all of the big moves have been made. It seems like they are bought into all of the guys. I think we're forgetting that David Bell's still on this roster.
Mm-hmm.
He'll garnish a spot. Obviously, you have to make room for the guy they just signed from the Bears, the returner.
DeAndre Carter.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at Tillman, Thrash, Judy,
Deontay.
Carter. That's 5 right there.
Bell probably if he's back.
Bell. So there's your 6. Are you carrying 7?
Potentially. And I think that's where Andrew Berry comes in.
Only way I see that is if they make a trade. If the Olavo thing happens, like I think that would be the only other logical spot for that to happen because we're still talking about holding 3 running backs as well too. So Pierce we haven't even talked about Pierre Strong. Is he going to make the roster still? But forward Samson, Junkins, they're going back to the 2 side ends, and which I just don't see the room for it in terms of just throwing another guy in there, unless it's a player who can come in and have an impact.
I agree. And I think when you really look at the Browns receiver room, there is not one player that can come in and dramatically improve it. Like, there's not one player that's like
Olave could.
But would that dramatically change how good the offense is? Like I'm trying to say there's no like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, like tier of that receiver that's tradable. Even Olave is not of that tier. That is just so damn good that you got to make a game plan for that guy. Like, I don't think there's a world where they get somebody like that. However, I feel like you've seen the Brian Windhorst meme where he's going like this. 2 very, very interesting moves in San Francisco. You pay Brock Purdy. You already paid George Kittle, but you pay Brock Purdy, and you pay Fred Warner. Something's got to go financially there, guys. And the Andrew Berry inquiry for Chris Olave, I talked about earlier, it's the principle above anything. Like,
sounds like an Ayuk scenario you're bringing in.
It does. And like, I'm the last person who would ever push for that to happen. Like, I did not think that was even a remote thing 3 months ago. But now that we know from very good sources that Andrew Berry is at least taking initiative and calling to inquire, I don't think it's wild to think he wouldn't do that with Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers. And I think the Niners are in a spot right now financially, like, something's got to give. Something has to give with the Niners, especially if they're keeping all of these key pieces. They're paying Brock Purdy so much
ridiculous money.
Which I'm a Brock Purdy guy. I don't know if he should be paid like that. I like Brock Purdy. But like Fred Warner, you're keeping him around. You're going to have to pay Nick Bosa, like all of these guys. The Niners are paying top-end money to a lot of players, and I truthfully don't know if they truly believe they're better, dramatically better, I should say, as a holistic organization with Brandon Ayuk at the contract that he has.
Do you feel like Brandon Ayuk and Olave are kind of, I mean, obviously you could probably lean one way or the other, but I feel like they're kind of in the same boat.
I think so, too. I think it's tough. When healthy, I think Ayuk's a little better, but there's not much. The only thing is Ayuk, I believe, may be around the same age, but I think he's a little bit older. But the reality with Olave is the Saints hung up the phone. Like, the Saints are not trading him. I don't think the Niners would hang up the phone. I'll be real.
What does it take to get Brandon Ayuk?
That's
the question,
a great question.
Because money's going to come into factor. Well, like, if it would make sense if they could trade for Brandon Ayuk and do what they kind of did with Judy, where they get ahead of the curve, give him a contract that you may squinch at first, but be like, okay. I mean, we're looking at the Jerry Jeudy contract right now. Like, dude, we hit the freaking lottery with this dude. So, I mean, is it taking? Could you get him for a third? I mean, is he on the level of George Pickens? Like, aren't we basing everything off the Pickens trade right now?
Not necessarily, because Ayuk already got paid.
Oh.
So that's the difference in my eyes. If I'm not mistaken, he's under contract for 2+, if I'm not mistaken.
So it'd probably take more than a third.
But it's the guaranteed money on the Niners end. Like, the Niners are paying him a certain amount. So if they trade, they will obviously take on a lot of Ayuk's contract, but not the entirety of it, which matters, but they'd still be paying him a lot of money. That means, to me, the Niners would want more present resources. Like, Pickens was, a third and then a fifth and a sixth swap, if I'm not mistaken?
I feel like that's where the Newsome thing comes into to play.
I'll tell you what,
there's
though.
that little history with Ayuk and Newsome that you kind of go to and be like, do you want those two players in the same locker room?
Yeah, that's also a great question, a great point. Would the Niners want Newsome to come in and play the same position they already have a borderline all-pro at in Diamond Lenore? I don't know. That's
Newsome in a fourth. Are you doing it? Newsome's contract's up after this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so. It's tough, but I think so. Let's finish with the third question. I didn't mean to bring us down the Brandon Ayuk rabbit hole 2 months after we already went down it, but let's finish with more quarterback discussion.
That's Browns offseason, guys. That's what it is. But who do you think is the best solution for quarterback for the Browns? Is there one?
I think let's do short term, long term. Long term, I'm with you. Yes, 100%. Short term this year. But what would it look like this year? That's my question.
there's just something about the Shador thing that almost feels like it had to go the way that it had to go in order for it to work in Cleveland. Something's telling me that if they went Shador with the second overall pick or the fourth overall pick or the 33rd overall pick, it felt like it would have been forced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I feel like when you talked about Baker Mayfield and you talked about a quarterback that's going, or any quarterback for that matter, that is going to thrive in Cleveland, we've always tried to force him in. And I just feel like you're not going to. You're clearly not in a situation where Shador Sanders is going to be forced into any type of fire right now. And obviously, I'm a huge Joe Flacco guy. I think he's probably the guy that the more logical answer, I'd say. But in terms of business, in terms of ceiling, in terms of leadership, in terms of a lot of the important qualities you want in your quarterback, it seems as if Shador is checking all of those boxes. The business side, what's understood doesn't need to be explained. But the players in the locker room seem to really grab. I've seen multiple reports where it's like not just the younger guys, but veterans are actually starting to gel to Shador Sanders. And I just think if you hit on Shador, you hit a grand slam.
Yeah.
And whether it's short term, long term, if he comes into, let's just say he comes in week 9 and gives you that breath of life, it's an automatic win, no matter how
That's
the rest of it comes out. So
yeah.
I think the logical answer is Joe Flacco, just because I've seen it done that. And I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying that because, oh, he's 40. You've seen what he did in the Colts. I don't care about none of that. I'm looking at the 2023 season, and we've seen no better quarterback with Kevin Stefanski than Joe Flacco. But I think Shador's the guy.
That's a great way to put it, like the breath of fresh air, because I'm trying to think from a logical perspective. Let's say the Browns are let's say they're 2-6 at the bye, okay? Or 3-5, but
you got to turn to a rookie.
See, I agree. But like is that what would bring the most hope? I think so.
Oh, 100%.
I think so.
I think that you'll have that group of people where it's like, oh, Dylan, Gabriel, this and this, and like I see it now. But like, you want to talk about swinging for the fences. Shador Sanders is Rajay Davis, top of the 8th. Grant home run on Aroldis Chapman before the rain comes down. Like, that it will get no more electric if you see Shador come in and actually perform.
I agree. The only let me ask you this then. If the Browns are a battle-tested 4-4 at the bye, do you do anything? I don't think you do.
I don't think you do anything yet, but I don't think you let it get too far away.
Okay.
I think if they go, let's say they go 4-4 and then they come out and they go 4-6, or they go 2 more losses after that. So it puts them at 4-6. I then think you go to who's the guy that could still keep us in that playoff hunt. Mm-hmm. And again, whether it's Dylan Gabriel or Shador Sanders, I think that would be the move that you need. 4-6 is the sweet spot because you can still make a run and get into the playoffs at that point.
I like that. I agree, and I think it's going to be whichever guy you believe in. We got 3 months to, I guess, make hypotheticals about it, but also watch them preseason, training camp, and OTAs, which we'll talk about next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. We are going to wrap this episode up with a brief Cleveland look ahead. The Guardians are struggling pretty badly. They are now on the road against the Detroit Tigers, 4-game series, so a big series against a very good team. Then they travel back and get the Dodgers the week after. We'll see what happens there. But we still do have some Cavs stuff to talk about after the season. We are taping this the day after Tyrese Halliburton did that in Madison Square Garden. Look, I didn't really want to lean into the Pacers because of what they did in the Cavs. I think New York is fun when the Knicks are winning, but I almost want them to win at this point. That is the cojones you got to have to do something like that in game one is insane. And they've been doing it to Milwaukee. They did it to the Cavs. They just did it to the Knicks. I almost want them to win, truthfully. Like, I think it is so cool.
No, bump that. I don't want them winning. I'm rocking with Minnesota and Anthony Edwards. I don't know. I just love me some Anthony Edwards. But on the Cavs front, thank you, Channing Frye. I am so happy that you came out and said what you said about Jared Allen needs to be tougher. He's not the tough guy. Like, yes, we need that so bad because, like, that's when you look at this team, it's the same thing. It's like our toughness is not at the level that it needs to be. You look at all these other players playing through injuries. You look at all these other big men or somebody having that enforcer. And I know they were throwing the hypothetical around. Would you trade Jared Allen straight up? Was it Jared Allen or Evan? Not Mobley. It was Allen for Draymond straight up.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I wouldn't want to do that is because Draymond Green is literally a year or two for probably hanging it up. Yeah. But when you talk about enforcer, you talk about having an impact in the playoffs, leadership things like Channing Frye was 100% on the money. You see your players get into a scuff and you're just standing on the side watching it. Bro, you're 7'10". Yeah. Get in the mix. Show a little backbone. Like someone said that the Cavs didn't have their backbone. When you go through body parts and trying to put them together and who should be there, I think Jared Allen is the backbone just for the simple fact that, like, you're the big guy. You control the glass. You're good defensively. Like, we should be able to rely on you, and we can. And that was a huge reason why, because the lights are still too bright in Jared Allen's mind. I'm tired of it.
I don't blame you. I don't know if it's going to take a Jared Allen replacement to get him over the hump, to be honest with you. But I'm with you. Like, somebody's got to be the enforcer. Somebody's got to step up. And you would look at Evan Mobley and say it's him, but is different than Donovan Mitchell, I guess, but much more quiet about things. I think they're both kind of laid back and have the same mindset. Shut up, go to work, that type of mindset. But Donovan Mitchell, talk a little bit. He can get in your face a little bit. Evan Mobley is damn good, but he's not really going to do that. So you're right. You need a backbone. Pat, you mentioned a really interesting hypothetical they talked about on the Big Factor show, the Big Factor, with the Cavs and kind of how the season finished as it relates to what's going on in the NBA.
Yeah. So this run, guys, that the Pacers are going on, the way that they've been able to close out games and come from behind to win these games, does this make you feel any better about how the series went for the Cavs? And you guys gave me a resounding no.
No.
But it doesn't make you feel any better. But if the Pacers maybe were to go to the NBA Finals, does it soften anything in you if they make it to the NBA Finals knowing that you lost to a team that went on a really special run like this?
No. Because like you just said, the word that you use is a special run. Like, the Cavs had no business losing 4-1. That's why I think it's like
fair.
Maybe if they took them 7 or they took them 6, because I know it's one thing to say, well, they got gentlemen swept. It's clearly the Pacers are a better team.
Yeah.
I don't feel that. Like, it doesn't feel like the Pacers are a better team. It feels like they are in that 2023 Browns era where it's like they caught lightning in a bottle. Obviously it's not lightning in a bottle because they've been with this group now for what, 3 years or so?
Yeah.
They've had the Nesmith, Turner, and Halliburton and Siakam for a couple years now. So obviously they're coming into their own, but absolutely does not make me feel any better because realistically this should be the Cavs in this spot right now.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the money with the 4-1 thing. Like, if the Cavs really, really went to war with these guys and it came down to a Game 7 in Cleveland and Indiana took it from them like they did in Game 5 almost, because it was a pretty close game, tip of the cap, so be it, go do your thing. The fact that they got blown off the court, not really in Game 1, but the Pacers were the better team the entirety of Game 1. Obviously, you choke Game 2 the way you do. You win Game 3, but then in Game 4, completely blown off the court like you've never seen before. And then as the game went on in Game 5, you're like, okay, yep, this Indiana team, they're a little bit different. I really, bless you, I really don't think it's lightning in a bottle. I think anybody who watched the Pacers play the Celtics last year in the conference finals know Game 1, Pacers probably should have won. Game 3, Drew Holiday wins on a game-winning steal that the Pacers had a chance to, I believe, tie the game, not win the game, but they had a chance to either tie or win the game, send it to overtime, whatever. That they hung around with the Celtics, and the Celtics were the NBA champions last year. The Pacers are that caliber of team. So I agree. I don't think it's really like lightning in a bottle. Like, they've had the core for a few years. But I think there's nothing that can make any Cavs fan feel better about a 4-1 loss after the one dominance you had against the Heat in the first round.
Yep.
Granted, the Heat were a 30-whatever win team, regardless. Abolish the play-in. I'm on that front. But The Cavs had an unbelievable season, and there's nothing that can make you feel better about that.
I think the thing that makes me upset the most is it's another year of excuses.
Yeah.
Like they're finding excuses as to why the Cavs couldn't beat the Pacers, and I think that's really what's sitting with me. It's like, bro, we have given Darius Garland a pass every single year for something. When we did like, I don't understand why we can't do it with him like how you do it with Deshaun Watson. The man is making $200 million to play, and every single year there's an excuse. Like, it comes to a point when is enough is enough? When are you going to live up to that expectation and play to the caliber that we know you can play? And unfortunately, when it comes time to the playoffs, regular season is a different game. He's a different player in the regular season.
Yeah.
But every time the playoffs comes, Jared Allen and Darius Garland are two players that you're looking at and being like, where the hell are you?
Yeah. And I'll finish by saying this. I think if we got the regular season Cavs in the playoffs, they would win it all. And I don't think anybody would debate that. But Cleveland sports, unfortunately, right now is more centered on the Guardians and the Browns. We talked about the Guardians a little bit. Brief look ahead. We won't spend more than a minute on this. But Browns OTAs start a little less than a week from now. I believe May 27th is the first date. We'll go through the 29th and some dates in June. Zay, I want a player, and I can start. Player on the offensive side of the ball, player on the defensive side of the ball, assuming everybody's at OTAs that you are watching. I think offensive side of the ball, let's just take Shedeur Sanders out of the equation because that'd be who we both pick. Outside of Shedeur Sanders, offensive side of the ball, I'm honestly looking at Deontay Johnson. Like,
I was going to go. I thought you were going to go somewhere else.
The quarterback, look, here's the bottom line. Quarterback scenario, starter, who's good, who's bad, will not be decided till preseason. It's not even worth, it is worth our breath. Like, you guys like this stuff, but it's not worth putting too much stock into. I want to see Deontay Johnson against these corners. And I'm telling you, like, you watch him last year, you watch the film, he can beat almost anybody one-on-one. He still can do it. What happens after he does that is a different question. But in terms of getting off the ball, in terms of creating separation, he can still do it. And it's clear to see. Offensive, I'm going Deontay Johnson. Defensive, it's tough. I mean, I honestly am fascinated by Joe Tyrone Shaenka. Like, I want to see him go one-on-one against DeJuan Jones. I want to see him go one-on-one against... I want to see that. I want to see if DeJuan Jones is out there. I want to see Joe Tyrone Shaenka get that third pass rusher role. Basically, like, take the role of Obo Okoronkwo.
You kind of stole my thunder a little bit there because my offensive player is DeJuan Jones.
Oh, okay.
Is
he going to be out there? I don't know the injury. Like,
well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. We need to know because Jedrick Wills still isn't signed.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
there were still reports that who did I see? He was it the Jets?
Dolphins.
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 Okay, I knew there was somebody out there that they were talking about Jedrick Wills.
It's a great point. I forgot he existed.
You know, I mean, like, what are we doing on this left side of the ball here? I think that is super important. Now, obviously, if DeJuan Jones isn't out there, we'll have to look somewhere else. But we need to know if he's going to be our left tackle for the future because before he got injured, I mean, you talk about locking down one of the best pass rushers in the game in T.J. Watt. He showed a lot of promise, and I mean, you know, if you don't have that left side down, that's always that. That's one of those pieces you need. So I'm definitely looking at that. I guess on the defensive side of the ball, I'm kind of gonna go. I'm gonna go a little sleeper here. I need to know what we're getting out of Ronnie Hickman. He's number one on that depth chart. Yeah. He's number one on the depth chart for the safety position. It was a position of need that we talked about every single week leading up to the draft, and they didn't go out and do it. They went to the undrafted spot. So I'm looking at Ronnie Hickman to see if he's taken that, not even a step. It's going to have to be a leap to go in and take over that starting position. So give me DeJuan Jones and Ronnie Hickman as my two.
I like that. I like that a lot, and I think the elephant in the room with DeJuan Jones, and really just the tackle spot because Jack Conklin's getting up there too. 2 first-round picks next year. That could be where the Browns go with that. We're going to finish up this episode here on Big Play Sports Network. Is there any final words before we sign off here?
Dog days. It's the dog days of Browns football. Yeah. I mean, so any news is the best news at this point. So if we start going off the rails a little bit, hang in there with us. The train will get back on the tracks, I promise. But have a good day, guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will say, if you made it to the end, let us know any other draft-style, I guess, topics you want us to do. This is our first one. It was a very pressing topic with the flag football stuff. But any other Browns-related or Cleveland-related drafts you want us to do, let us know. Browns Rushmore, let us know. Replying to this in the comments of any of our videos, stuff like that. But we appreciate you guys watching. This is Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network.